Welcome to the Lord and Richards Show, a program that will enable you to become more financially independent and prosperous from a biblical point of view. Tune in each week to learn how to prosper through good markets and bad. Now, here's our co-hosts, Colin Richards, your biblical investment advisor, and Dylan Schoonover.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Lord and Richards Show. I'm Dylan Schoonover with breaking news today. Colin, did you know that 9 out of 10 people who are afraid of hurdles never get over it?
No, I did not know that, Dylan.
Well, speaking of hurdles, today on the show, we are going to be talking about the accumulation versus distribution phase. And that can be a big hurdle for someone trying to go from accumulating money to figuring out how they're going to make sure that money lasts for the rest of their life. Colin, can you tell us a little bit about the two different phases?
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's an accumulation phase where we're just packing away the money. Hopefully we're contributing to our 401k, doing exactly what we've been told all these years, which is to set it and forget it. Don't even look at it, and let it be taken automatically from your check. Hopefully you're getting a match during that time. That's one of the things I say. My favorite kind of money is free money. My second favorite kind of money is tax-free money. And so if you're doing that match in a Roth 401k, that's even better. Although your employer's portion is still tax deferred, the portion you put in is going to be tax-free for the rest of your life if you do it right. So during those years, we're not as concerned about maybe some of the ups, downs, and dodges and weaves of the market. But things sure change when we start to get close to retirement and we enter the second phase of retirement, which is the distribution phase. It's a simple way of saying, hey, I've built up this pot of gold that I'm now going to have to live on. And like taffy, I need to make it stretch over my entire lifespan. And Americans are living longer, fortunately, but that's unfortunate financially because it's a much harder job to stretch money over 25 or 30 years as opposed to the way things were a century ago when people's life expectancy were much shorter.
Yeah, especially when you don't have, income coming in per se from working, right?
That's right.
So what's your favorite color taffy? What's your favorite flavor?
You know what? I like saltwater taffy, and I think it's pink.
Pink is the saltwater taffy flavor of your choice. All right, very good. So accumulating, that seems pretty straightforward. You save money. Do people really forget it, or do you think they check it pretty often?
Well, it all depends. I think they're checking it when things go well. I think they choose not to look at it when things are going poorly. Now, the interesting thing, even in the accumulation phase, Lord and Richards is able to step in and help clients. Many people don't realize that plan participants, that is people who are contributing to a 401k, actually do far better with an advisor. Studies have shown as much as a 3% increase in annual returns just by having an advisor to help you navigate the strategies that you're presented with, because your 401k menu comes with all kinds of options and most people just don't have the time to become experts in all those investments. So Lord and Richards can actually step in and help you manage your 401k during that accumulation phase.
Yeah, and that 3% could compound over the decades of time, meaning hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, potentially, depending on your ability to contribute and what kind of match you're getting.
So it's not uncommon that people end up with a lot of different accounts spread over the course of their career, because unlike old times, people would stay at a job maybe 20, 30, 40 years. Loyalty is actually non-rewarded nowadays, where if you want to get promoted or actually get more money, oftentimes you have to move careers or move jobs. So people end up with a lot of accounts that we would refer to dormant accounts, or accounts that are just kind of sitting on the sidelines at old employers. Those may still be in the accumulation phase, but what do you recommend doing with those as they're making that transition to the distribution phase?
Well, when we sit down with clients for their retirement freedom review, one of the key things is to use this as a great time not only to get a great financial plan in place, but also to organize the mess of accounts that develop and accumulate over the years. I think we've all got that drawer at home. We've probably got a couple where things just get tossed in there, and accounts start to look like that. We can see people with sometimes 10, 15, 20 accounts spread out all over that have just accumulated over the years, aren't really being watched or managed. And dormant is a good word. They're kind of sleepy. They're not being actively managed. They're not being watched over. And so we recommend, let's do some consolidation, let's do some reorganization and get things tidied up, not only for organizational purposes, but so that we can get them in investments that now are part of what we call the distribution phase, different kinds of investments for this period in your life.
Yeah, so let's jump into that distribution phase. what do you do? Where do you start? How do you know that, do you wake up one day at 55 and go, oh, my alarm went off and now I'm in the distribution phase? Like, how does that happen? What's the trigger?
Well, the magic moment, in my opinion, Dylan, for a distribution phase is the moment you retire. The problem is, if you look at charts out there, the Social Security Administration actually puts these out there, and they'll demonstrate on pie charts where Americans who are retired get their income. And it'll say things like Social Security, maybe a third, and their portfolio maybe a third, and then it'll have a slice called employment that says a third. And I'm like, wait, scratch the record. I thought I was supposed to not be working. The key in retirement is not having to work. Many people might choose to continue to work. They might have something that they love that they do, or maybe they switch to consulting. I have one client who made the same money in retirement consulting with a quarter of the time. I'm like, I want to be in your career. But they might keep working because they want to, but not because they have to. So the distribution phase is that phase when you need your assets to start providing a steady stream of income for you.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Colin, when you go hiking, do you think it's easier to go up or down?
I find it much easier to go down.
Yeah. Well, do you know that when you're going down, it's actually a lot more likely that you're going to get injured?
Actually, I've experienced that, yes.
Yeah. So typically they say that people have 80% of their deaths on the way down coming down Everest. And so I think that's where it comes in, that Lord & Richards is a key contributor, if you will, to the distribution phase of someone's retirement. So can you speak a little bit to the fact of how Lord & Richards comes alongside people to be able to help so they don't ultimately have that Everest death too early?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the kind of autopilot mode that most people do, which we're going to want to change. Okay, this is where we're going to need to change our thinking, is to carry the same concepts that we used in investing into the distribution phase from the accumulation phase. And so when you look at most 401ks, IRAs from our working years, it looks a lot more like just a mix-up of stocks and bonds and mutual funds. And we've talked about this in other episodes, but first of all, there's fees in those types of accounts that could cost you precious years of retirement. You got to begin thinking of dollars as years, not just dollars on the paper. How many years of money am I giving up in fees? And that's a critical point. But then also the way we invest prior to distribution, often we just put together these stocks and bonds and hope for the best. We can't do that when we're taking money out. I'll give you one quick example, Dylan. Let's say we're in the inevitable bear market. That's going to happen. We plan for it. If you don't plan for it, you're going to get caught off guard. During that bear market, let's say the market drops 25%. If you're still taking out the same money that you took out last year when the market was going up, you're actually compounding down on your losses. So you're increasing your losses. And what typically happens, and I've seen it happen often, is during an extended bear market, people stop withdrawing because they begin to realize, if they begin to realize that their money's not going to last, and then have to go back to work, or they don't really realize the problem and they are shortening the years that their money's going to last.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about what you can do to make sure that you don't have to take a pay cut in that distribution phase. Because I don't think anybody, when they want to retire, I don't think anybody wants to take a pay cut. We'll be right back on the Lord & Richards Show.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Welcome back from the break. I am joined alongside CEO and founder Colin Richards of Lord & Richards. Colin, we're talking about the distribution phase after previously talking about the accumulation phase. And one of the things that we're looking to solve for is obviously making sure our clients don't run out of money. That's the number one thing. They want to be able to enjoy their retirement and live the way they want to live. But number two, I think is right behind it, is nobody walks in the door and goes, hey, you know what? When we say that I can retire, I'd like to take a 30% pay cut tomorrow. That's not happening, right?
No, nobody wants that while you're working. And you certainly don't want to set yourself up for that once you're retired. And I view retirement kind of like a business. You know, it's kind of you incorporated. And if you're married, you and your spouse. And business principles actually can help us in retirement. If we start to think of things like, oh, well, my budget is the expense side of my income and expense sheet, or my profit and loss. And the checks that I've got coming in from my IRA, 401k, and investments, as well as my Social Security, well, that's the income side. And I've got to make sure that those things work out for the rest of my life. Somebody has put it this way, you're planning for 30 years of unemployment, but really what it is self-employment. You're going to be paying yourself over these next 30 years, and we've got to get that right. This is so much more challenging, Dylan, than just throwing a bunch of investments into a pot, mixing them up, hoping they work out because we're following the commonly accepted practices. I will tell you, as in most things in life, the commonly accepted practices usually fall short. There is a specialty around retirement, and that involves never running out of money before you run out of life, and that's way harder than just building up that pot of gold.
Yeah, so walk me through that. Let's say that we'll go through an example. For example, I'll put you on the spot. 65-year-old couple, Bob and Jane, walk in the office. They've got $1 million. They've got Social Security, no other sources of income. Where do you start with them to make sure that they accomplish the goals that they want to accomplish and don't outlive their money, essentially?
Well, first of all, I give them a round of applause for accumulating $1 million. That's great. One of the things I point out is, whether people have 100,000, $1 million, or 10 million, I'll tell those people we'll even squeeze you in if you got $10 million. We'll make it work.
We'll make room, right?
But congratulations on getting there. Now, what we have to do is we have to line up what you have available in your account and determine, is that enough to pay those expenses? So we really need to sit down and have, I avoid the word budget, as you know, because it feels like a straitjacket,
There it is.
There it is. There's the budget. But what I like is a retirement expense report, right? This is what we want to spend in retirement. And I encourage people, don't be too cheap. If we need to pare it back, we can have a conversation around that. But let's put in the things that you really want to do. And then it's Lord and Richard's job to determine, not some rule of thumb, formula, some guess, as to whether we can make that money last over your entire lifetime. The prevailing view is, just take out 4% from your portfolio, the same portfolio you had before you retired. I don't think that's going to work. We've got so many studies now that show that if we go back and we look at what happened to people in 2000, 2008, they were decimated by those severe bear markets, and the rule of 4% did not work. If they were taking 4% out after losing 40, 50% of their portfolio, all of a sudden that 4% looks more like 8%. And I think most people realize, that's not going to last very long. So we're going to develop a plan in your Retirement Freedom Review to take that money and stretch it. And to do that, we're going to need to provide some guaranteed income. This is something that most people don't even realize is available. They think, well, I've got guaranteed income from Social Security, guaranteed income if you're lucky and blessed from a pension, but you're going to need guaranteed income from sources outside of those two elements to complete your retirement picture.
Yeah. I don't think hope is a good strategy when it comes to your retirement.
No.
When you're talking about the retirement expense report, as you nicely branded, if you will. One thing that comes to mind is, how often do you see that those who are nearing retirement all of a sudden pay attention to that a lot closer than they might have been when they were working?
Oh, it's pretty typical that folks have not written down any type of expense report or budget in the working years. They're just kind of measuring it by, well, how much money is left at the end of the month. Now, we've got a few super planners that are clients at Lord and Richards, and we love those folks, and they just come in with a stack of papers organized by colors and tabs and all this, and makes our job easy. But folks, don't worry about it. If you're disorganized, we love to organize, okay? We're like those people with your garage, right? But we do that with finances. And so most people aren't prepared, but here's the thing. After sitting with thousands of people, we know the typical costs and expenses that retirees face. Things that you might forget and leave out of the budget, we actually insert, like, don't forget, Medicare is going to be coming, and you're going to have those premiums coming out of your Social Security check and so forth.
You think they forget them, or just intentionally don't want to think about them?
No, I think people really do want to know, but yeah, it's just not something that they're used to doing. As I like to say, you get one shot at retirement, we've had 1,000 shots.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes new expenses are unwanted, especially if your health is going the wrong direction. So if it were me, I might just try to defer the thought process altogether.
Yeah, I would see that as reasonable.
So the strategy shifts. You talked about building income. You talked about rebalancing the portfolio potentially to a degree based on where they're at. How about tax planning? I think tax planning is an essential part of the distribution phase, is it not?
It It is, and this is where a lot of people fall short in their planning. Even if they're working with an advisor, if that advisor is not a true planner, I want to always remind our people that we have a certified financial planner staff that backs up our plans. We have expertise in taxes. We have an enrolled agent and so forth. So we're not going to just sort of, again, eyeball this. If there's a message we take out of this little mini-series, it's that don't eyeball your retirement. We want to laser focus on our retirement. And just saying, well, I'm going to guess that we're going to pay 10% in taxes. Well, there's all kinds of things that impact your taxes, especially your Social Security is impacted by the other income sources you take. So whether or not your Social Security is going to be a part of your tax picture depends on you and how much income you need. We can help defer some of that tax issue and that tax problem by taking more of your income from tax-free sources so that less of your Social Security is taxable on top of that. I actually have clients who are set up and prepared to retire 100% tax-free as long as the law doesn't change.
And that's fantastic. And you mentioned Social Security. We could go several different directions with Social Security. I think between that and taxes, I think it's some of the most asked questions that our clients have. We won't go too far down that path, but I do think it is important to highlight some of the different things that are going on. When you're looking at Social Security, you've got a window of when you can take it, and obviously it's going to vary by person, but how do you determine when you should take Social Security?
Well, Dylan, as you said, there's this window from age 62 to 70, and in between is the most critical period of your life for determining the amount of money you're going to get out of the Social Security system. And making a mistake here can be devastating, and it can change up to hundreds of thousands of dollars how much in benefits you can receive. I had one client where we did an analysis, and depending on when they took that, it changed their total lifetime benefits by $400,000. The default for most Americans is to just turn it on early, right? Age 62, let's just get it done. And there's a misconception there that, oh, I've got to get it while I can, it's going away. Well, Social Security isn't going away, and there's bipartisan agreement that it shouldn't go away because, first of all, politicians are worried about their own necks, and if Social Security goes bye-bye, so do they. But secondly, it's a well-funded program, but as boomers take as opposed to contribute, we've had to have several changes occur, and changes in benefits are going to be a part of the future, and we need to prepare for those, but going away is not likely. So just taking it at 62 because you're worried you won't get it is not the best strategy and could result in the loss of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So then we need to sit down and develop what we call an optimization strategy. I didn't say maximize, because getting the biggest check may not result in the biggest dollar amount over your lifetime. For example, if you wait till 70, but you have a plan to retire at 65, and you drain your other accounts down too fast because you're not getting any help from Social Security, that can have detrimental effects on your cash and your net worth.
Sure. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the Lord & Richards client experience and kind of what it looks like to be able to implement these types of things. We'll be back from the break shortly.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Welcome back to the Lord & Richards Show. Colin, I was thinking to myself, what was the #1 name in 1965 for both a boy and a girl? Do you have any idea?
Colin and Colette.
Boy, that sounds just beautiful, but it's actually Michael and Lisa. So let's pretend that Michael and Lisa from 1965, fast forwarded to today, they came into the office and they're going to go through the Lord & Richards experience of what it's like to kind of walk through how they can get a lot of these things set up that you've been talking about. So walk us through what that looks like.
Well, the first thing that you're going to notice as you walk into our offices, which we've tried to appoint beautifully as a relaxing place, not a high-stress, blaring news media, that kind of thing place, is you're going to notice the wafting of the scent of chocolate chip cookies on the air. And we do that on purpose. I personally love them. My wife tried 7 different recipes before we settled on the Lord & Richards cookie. But folks are greeted by a wonderful person there at our front desk who will usher them into one of our lovely conference rooms, and we sit down together and have a conversation about life. That's the most important thing, right? The financial tools are important. The investment vehicles are important. The plan is certainly important. But if we don't have life targets that we're trying to hit, those things are really not valuable. And so as we talk about your life, we're going to discuss things like, who are the most important people in your life? What do you want to have happen when you retire? What are the goals, dreams, plans that drive you, the values, the places that you love, the people that you love, the things that you love to do? What do you want to have happen if somebody gets sick? It's a conversation we don't like to have, but we found it's tremendously powerful to sit in a room to be able to share in an open-hearted way between two individuals about what your plans are if something should happen to you. And it's better to do this and have this conversation when you're healthy, when you're mentally lucid, when you're able to really think clearly about, well, this is how we're going to pay for it if I were to find myself needing chronic care. This is what I want to have happen if I pass away and where I want my assets to go. So those are the most important things that happen in our first meeting together. In addition, of course, we're going to share what we have found through our experience and what we've learned from our clients over the years are the critical areas that we need to address to make sure that your wishes are honored, whether it's about what you need to spend on travel or what you want to leave behind to loved ones. All of those things need a plan, and we're going to get a written plan in place for you. But this first meeting is about finding out what really drives you and what's important to you.
That makes a lot of sense. It doesn't sound too intimidating. For those that are joining the show, is there a right or a wrong type of person who should have a visit with us?
No, I would say that our clients will even bring in their children in their 20s and so forth to help make sure they understand the same principles and can start implementing early in life. So we'll meet with people sometimes who literally are just getting started on their road. And we'll teach them how to save, where to save, what to plan for in the future. And people that talk to us that are younger, even though they may not have a gigantic portfolio, it's some of my favorite people to talk to because I feel like we can make an even greater impact in their financial future.
Yeah, because they're taking action earlier. And so that's kind of what we maybe look at as the discovery meeting. Now walk us through, you get back together and that's kind of where you lay out a plan?
Yeah, so all the brainiacs in our company then take all the information that we've gleaned. We've gathered some statements from you, preferably your tax returns and of course your retirement expense report, what you want to spend money on. And we work with some powerful software, and our ultra smart people will put together a first kind of draft, kind of a pre-plan. And that retirement freedom review that we promise you, and we deliver that to you and go through every important area of retirement, whether it's your health, whether it's your income, whether it's the amount of risk that's currently in your portfolio, your future estate plans, whether you're positioned well to reduce or eliminate taxes. We'll go through all of that in our second visit together, and that's the opportunity to determine, hey, these are the people that understand me, that get me, that understand where I want to go, and I want to work with them now to develop a plan, a comprehensive plan to cover all those areas of retirement.
That makes a lot of sense. And is it an invasive process? I mean, sometimes money can be intimidating for people to talk about.
Well, as you know, Dylan, I have a pastor background. I actually am still a pastor as a volunteer. And I find that it's actually refreshing and a relief to people to be able to get things off of their heart and share, hey, these are the areas I'm concerned about. Some people might come in and say, I'm really worried about the markets and what can happen. And I'm just following the prevailing wisdom, and I'm worried that that's going to let me down, rightfully so. Others may say, what really keeps me awake thinking about when I allow myself to think about it is what happens if I get chronically ill and my spouse is saddled with bills that we can't afford to pay. And so I frequently have had people say, Colin, you literally now know more about me than my family knows about me. But I think that's the right place to be, to have an objective counselor, a guide who can take you by the hand, who's not going to charge you for this, but just have a great conversation and develop a plan at no cost to you that will get you through your retirement beautifully.
Yeah, I think that's important. And you said an important word there, no cost to you. So this is all complimentary to go through this process.
Yeah, the process and the planning is something that you should be entitled to. Every person should have somebody who delivers what I'm describing here. people will then ask me, well, Colin, so do you do this like for charitable work? And I say, well, I have a charity. It's called the Foundation for Global Education, and we do work all around the world with some of the poorest people on earth, providing Christian charity and God's love. But Lord & Richards isn't my nonprofit, and the way that we're compensated is through the investments that we manage on our clients' behalf.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you for walking us through the accumulation and the distribution phase today and exactly what takes place with Lord & Richards through that entire process. If you'd like to see more or learn more, give us a call or visit us at lordandrichards.com. We'll see you next time.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Take the first step toward securing your financial future. Request an appointment today. Whether you're planning for retirement, managing your wealth, or optimizing your business finances, we're ready to help you achieve your goals. Visit us online at lordandrichards.com for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Investment advisory services offered through Lord & Richards Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor.